Lenore Coleman, President and founder of Healing Our Village and Executive Director of Total Lifestyle Change. Welcome to Diabetes, the Truth About It. Is your blood sugar under good control? Do you understand the effects of diabetes on your eyes and kidneys? Are you on the correct insulin injection? Are you having trouble controlling your weight? Are you following your physician's advice? It is critical that you're using your diabetes medicines correctly. Diabetes, the Truth About It, is here to help you. Check out HOV Health to learn everything you need to know to manage your diabetes and prevent complications. Do you think you have diabetes? Normal blood sugar is 60 to 100 milligrams per deciliter. You have prediabetes if you're between 101 and 126. And we diagnose you with type 2 diabetes if your blood sugar is 126 milligrams per deciliter or greater. The symptoms of diabetes can be different for every person. Are you always thirsty and hungry? Do you urinate many times during the day, especially at night? Have you been experiencing blurred vision or not seeing things as clearly as normal? Have you been experiencing tingling or numbness in your hands and feet? Have you noticed sores in your legs and your feet that don't seem to want to heal? Are you getting vaginal or urinary tract infections more frequently? Do you have to see your dentist more often because you have more cavities? All of these may be the signs of diabetes. If you're experiencing any of these symptoms, make an appointment to see your doctor right away. Did you know that more than 86 million people in the United States have prediabetes? Prediabetes is a condition where your blood sugar level is higher than normal, but not high enough to be diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. If your blood sugar is between 101 and 126 when you wake up in the morning, you may have prediabetes. What can you do if you have prediabetes? Well, start by changing your diet and exercising 5 days per week for at least 30 minutes. There are now CDC-approved diabetes prevention programs that focus on prediabetes. Healing Our Village is one of those programs. If you live in the Los Angeles, Atlanta, or Washington, D.C. area, call 800-788-0941 and sign up for classes today. Remember, the data shows that a third of the people with prediabetes can reverse their condition. Let's talk about diabetes and high blood pressure. It's estimated that nearly 75 million Americans aged 20 and older have high blood pressure. 1 in 3 U.S. adults have high blood pressure, and of those people, we know that 77% don't even know that they have it. African Americans in the United States have the highest rate of hypertension in the world. 30% of all deaths in African American men and 20% of all deaths in African American women are due to high blood pressure. African Americans are 4 times more likely to have high blood pressure than Caucasians. In most cases, we don't know what causes high blood pressure, but the good news is it can be treated, and there are things that you can do to reduce your chances of getting high blood pressure. We know that when you have high blood pressure, it causes the blood vessels to get stiff and narrow. This makes the heart have to work harder to get the blood through your vessels. High blood pressure can also weaken the lining of the arteries and veins so that it is more susceptible to cholesterol deposits. This narrowing of the blood vessels throughout the body can lead to problems with the heart, the kidneys, the brain, and the eyes. Everyone with high blood pressure should own a blood pressure cuff. It's important that you measure your blood pressure on a regular basis to make your medications work. The goal blood pressure for patients with high blood pressure and other conditions is 130/80. However, if a patient has diabetes or kidney disease, the blood pressure goal should be less than 130/80. People with diabetes especially have to keep their blood pressure low in order to achieve protection from heart attacks and, more importantly, damage to the kidney. Thank you for watching Diabetes, the Truth About It. For more information on how to control your blood sugar, sign up for Village Club today and get your own personal diabetes coach. Go to www.hovhealth.com or call 800-788-0941. Remember, you too deserve to live a long and healthy life. Hi, thank you so much for watching Diabetes, The Truth About It. If you have any questions or comments, give us a call at 800-788-0941. If you'd like to see more videos on diabetes or other chronic diseases, go to hovhealth.com. Join us on Facebook and Instagram. We are also excited to announce our brand new mobile app called Step Up 90. It's for weight loss and diabetes prevention. Go to the website and try our 30-day free trial. If you have any questions, again, give us a call, 800-788-0941. Remember, knowledge is power. And counting. There are 96 million of you that have prediabetes, up from 88 million. And so this is something that's going in the wrong direction. It's going up instead of down. We're supposed to be going down, not up, all right? So it's really important that, number one, you know your number. What is your blood sugar? Do you know what your blood sugar is? Did you take your blood sugar this morning? When you went to your doctor for your last visit, did you say, oh, by the way, doc, what's my blood sugar? No, you didn't, probably. And so this year is going to be the year of knowledge. This is the year of knowing. This is the year of knowing better so we can do better. Because we got to do better. So we're made it through the new year. I'm very excited about that. We're on to the races in terms of making sure that this is going to be extremely healthy, but also wealthy and prosperous years for everyone out there. So Healing Our Village, we're going to do our part. We're going to do our part to not only make sure that you know everything you need to know about the management of your diabetes. We're going to make sure that if you have prediabetes, that we maybe can get you back to normal glucose tolerance, which would be fabulous. And we're going to make sure that all of us, including me, get off that holiday weight that we put on. All right, because everybody put on, between COVID and the holidays, everybody's got that COVID 10, that holiday 10, at least, that we have to get off. So we're going to start off trying to figure out the easiest and best way to do that. And all of that goes together in terms of what we do with diabetes management, because in order to manage your diabetes, you have to not only take your medicines, and we'll talk about that in segment 2, but we're going to also make sure that you understand how to eat, which we talk about in segment 3, and we need to get you some exercise, and that's the hardest part for me. I just, back in my younger days, I went to the gym 5 days a week. Religiously, never missed, 5 days a week. I did a combination of aerobics and weights. I did a lot of the various aerobic classes, and it was just it was my constitution. I just did it every day. I didn't even think about it. It was just something I did. It was just part of my lifestyle. And over the last few years, due to hip surgeries and knee surgeries and my very, very hectic business, it's hard for me to get this time carved out. And it's not so much the time. It's not because I work for myself. So that's an excuse. I have the time because there's 24 hours in a day. It's not about the time. It's about the motivation to be able to get to a gym to do what I need to do to burn up the calories. Because now that I'm older, it's much harder to burn calories, much harder. My metabolic rate is really, really low. And the only way to get my metabolic rate up is to lift weights and to build muscle. And so I have to get to the gym to be able to do those things. The other thing that I've realized, and I've been doing a lot of research, is what I'm eating is another real problem. So I have been eating way too many processed foods over the years, and it's because they're easy. They're easy. They're microwavable. They already come prepackaged. I don't have to think about it. I just pop them in. 2 minutes, I'm eating. But the issue is all that stuff doesn't have any nutrients in it. It's nutrient free. And so because of that, my physiologic metabolic functions inside my body are not working and clicking the way they need to click. You got to eat whole foods and real foods. So my New Year's resolution was to stop eating so much processed foods. And I want you all to do the same thing. Now, trying to eat raw, trying to eat organic, trying to eat stuff that has come out of the ground at least 3 to 4 or 5 times a day is hard. It sounds easy, but it's not easy. It's hard. And so you and I are going to do that journey together. I'm going to give every session on Saturday, I'm going to give you a new tip on what I'm doing to try to eat more healthy. Because what I found out is some of this feeling tired, some of the tingling in my feet and the tingling in my fingers, some of the cramping that I sometimes get, especially at night. I found out a lot of it is vitamin and mineral deficiencies. That's what I just found out. And so I am now going to try to really actively focus on that, using foods instead of supplements to do that. Supplements are good, and I may have to use those as well, so I'm actually taking some new supplements, but I got to eat more vegetables and fruits. So we're going to talk about that when we get to our nutrition segment. But this is segment 1. This is the core segment for Sugar Busters. You need to know what diabetes is, number 1, and number 2, if you need to know if you have it. And we're going to talk to you about how you know that. How do you know if you have diabetes? Let's see here. Next slide. There we go. So, segment 1. We're going to be talking about all the aspects of diabetes, what's high blood sugar, what's low blood sugar, etc. But we're also going to spend a little bit of time on doing your monitoring of your blood sugar at home. Self-monitoring of blood sugar, really critical. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Healing Our Village has solutions for that. And so we want you to not just listen to what I'm talking about, but this is going to be the year where you're going to call my 800 number, 800-788-0941, and you're going to sign up for a Village Club, which is my concierge medicine program. And we're going to get you a meter, and we're going to get you a blood pressure cuff, and you're going to become part of our program to monitor and know your numbers. That's what we're going to do in 2023. And we're not going to only do that here in the United States. We're going to do that in the Caribbean, and we're going to do that in some other countries in Africa. Okay, so let's talk about what is diabetes. Well, about, as I said, 34.2 million, but it's really, these are older numbers. We don't know the full extent of diabetes in the United States. We have estimates, right? So probably 36, 37, 38, we're probably going up. 21 million know they have it, but 7.3 million do not know that they have diabetes. That is a problem. That is a problem. About a year or so ago, it was 88 million people had prediabetes. We're up now to 96 million people have prediabetes. It's a lot of people. And it's important because we know that if you have prediabetes, there's a good chance that a third of you can get back to not having prediabetes, to having normal blood sugars. And so we're focused. We have a whole year-long course that talks about getting your blood sugars back down to normal. And we can do it. We've had, when we have our classes at the end of the year, 80% of my students, their numbers go back to normal. That's pretty good. So we want to help you get there as well. Now, when you talk about what diabetes is, we got to talk about diabetes in African Americans because we know that probably 4.9 million have diabetes. It's probably closer to 6 at this point. We know it represents 18.9%. So let's just say 19% of all African Americans have been diagnosed with diabetes, or they have undiagnosed diabetes. They're the ones that are sitting out there that have diabetes and don't know they have it. That's a problem. That's a problem. 2 times more common for African Americans to have diabetes than for Caucasians. 2 times more common. 25% of those that are in their 60s, 65 to 74, 25%. That's 1 in 4 of our seniors have diabetes. And then when you start talking about African American women, there you go, another 1 in 4 African American women over the age of 55 have diabetes. So the reason why Healing Our Village and Dr. Lenore Coleman is so focused on this is because it represents people that look like me. And I have been doing this for 40 years. I have been trying to heal the village and improve African American health. And folks, I'm losing the battle. I'm losing the battle. And it's gotten worse, not better. You would think with all the new advances in technology and all the new medications that are out there and all the stuff we know now about diabetes that we didn't know 10 years ago, you would think that I'm having an easier job at getting people to get their diabetes under control. It's harder now. It's harder now because we went through these 2 years of COVID, so 2019, 20, 21. And there are people who think that they know more than doctors. That's what we saw with COVID. We had experts all over the country telling people about COVID, and people didn't believe what they were saying. They thought they knew more and that the medical community was lying to them about the virus. So they wouldn't get vaccinated. They wouldn't do any of the things that they needed to do to prevent COVID, wearing masks and distancing. So now it's even harder for me to do what I do because there's a lack of trust of the healthcare community. And so now we got to start over trying to regain the trust of people that are out there. So this year for Healing Our Village, we're really focused on trying to start bridging those knowledge gaps that are out there related to chronic disease management, COVID-19, et cetera, et cetera. All right? Now, when you talk about diabetes, who's at the greatest risk of developing diabetes? Okay, so it's people who have a family history. So you know or should know if you have diabetes, it runs in your family. If you have a brother, a sister, a mother, a father, an uncle, an aunt, you should know. We also know it runs in certain ethnic groups. So Alaska Natives, Native Americans, African Americans, Hispanic, Latino populations, Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders. We know that these folks have a genetic predisposition, right? It's in their genes. That's what that means, to developing diabetes. That's why it runs in families. We know that as you get older, your blood sugar goes up a little bit, or a lot, especially if you have that genetic predisposition for getting diabetes. But then you add on, I'm getting older and I now weigh 30 more pounds than I used to weigh. You put those two together and now you got diabetes. all right? Which, if you lose weight, could possibly go back to no diabetes, all right? Especially if you're in that pre-diabetes, between 101 to 125 milligrams per deciliter. If you're in that pre-diabetes category, those folks can actually reverse their diabetes, pre-diabetes. And then we know that high blood pressure usually precedes high blood sugar in people who are predisposed. And so we know that high blood pressure in African Americans especially is the highest in the world. And we have a whole segment called The Heart of the Matter that we cover during Sugar Busters over this next 6 to 7 weeks that will explain that to you. So we know that high blood pressure, or maybe even some high blood pressure medications, can put people at increased risk for high blood sugars. We know that people who tend to have high cholesterol, people who have a history of heart disease, people who have prediabetes, people who have an inactive lifestyle, which many of us have. It's just hard to get that exercise in. They're saying that you need to take 10,000 to 11,000 steps a day to keep your weight down. That's a lot of steps. I can get usually 4,000 to 5,000 in my regular routine. So therefore, in order for me to get that other 5,000, it has to be intentional. I have to actually carve out time in my day to get those steps in. And that's when everybody I know that's hitting their steps are they're intentional about getting those steps in. All right. My best friend that I've known my entire life, since I was in junior high school, she averages 12,000 to 14,000 steps a day. But she goes to her local park, rain, when the sun's shining, when it's hot, when it's cold, she's out there. And she walks for an hour, hour and a half. She walks until she gets her steps. When she gets her steps, then she leaves the park. So it's intentional. Now she's retired, she can do it. All right, but for those who are working out there, for those who are working 2 jobs, it's hard. Unless you're working a job where your job helps you get your steps, which is like the ideal job, right? Okay, we also know that people who have what they call PCOS, or polycystic ovarian syndrome, they're at risk of diabetes. People who have had a big birth weight baby, they had gestational diabetes, they're also at risk. Now, exactly what is diabetes? It's a disease that affects the body's ability to produce and respond to insulin. And diabetes is a disease where your blood sugar levels, your blood glucose levels, are higher than normal. So let me tell you how this works. So you eat food. That food is broken down by your body to give you fuel for your cells of your body, your muscles, your brain, your lungs, your heart. Your body needs fuel in order to function. It needs calories. So that food is broken down either into carbohydrates, which are your sugars and your starches, fats, or proteins. Those are the 3 things that are in the foods we eat that are broken down by the body. Now, what we care about is the sugars and the starches, because they're the ones that are turned into glucose in the body. All right? And glucose is basically what we measure. That is, when the doctor measures your blood glucose, he's basically measuring what they call your blood sugar, right? And we know that that glucose is the major thing that fuels the body and gives the body energy. All right? So it goes quickly into the blood and it goes quickly into the cells. And that's how your cells have what it needs to be able to function. Now, in your body, you have something called the pancreas. And you can see the pancreas is a very long sort of gland that is located right behind the stomach, as you can see in this picture. Now, why is the pancreas important? The pancreas is important because it secretes a hormone called insulin. And it secretes this hormone all day long, and you get extra after you eat. So this insulin, this hormone, is the key that opens up the cells of the body so that the glucose that's floating around in the bloodstream can get inside the cell. So here's a little cartoon that shows you that. So you got your little G's that are inside the blood, that's your glucose. And then you see that key in the second picture that's opening up that door. So now that glucose can flow inside the cell so it can do what it does with all the metabolic things and physiologic things that happen in your body, so that those mechanisms will have energy to be able to do what is needed to be done. All right, so this is the purpose of insulin. That's what insulin does. The other thing that insulin does is helps your body to store fat. So that is why we do not want high circulating levels of insulin, because it makes it harder for you to lose weight, because it's making your body store fat. So that's important, because when people have diabetes, they tend to have high circulating levels of insulin in their bloodstream. Okay, so that is the problem. Now, there's two types of diabetes. There's type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes. In type 1 diabetes, the pancreas makes no insulin or very little insulin. So that means in the lock and key scenario, you don't have any keys to open up the doors to the cells to get the glucose out of the blood into the cell. You don't have any keys, right? Okay. Type 2 diabetes is interesting because in many cases, the pancreas makes a lot of insulin, right? It makes too much insulin, which is why people with type 2 diabetes are overweight generally. 80% of the people with type 2 diabetes are overweight. So in type 2 diabetes, either the pancreas makes too little insulin, so there's not enough keys, just like in type 1, or the pancreas makes plenty of insulin, but the key doesn't fit the lock. So it can't open the door to get the sugar out of the blood into the cells. Okay, so that's the difference between type 1 and type 2 diabetes. You usually see type 1 diabetes in children and young adults. You usually see type 2 diabetes in older folks in their late 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. All right, and so and 80% of the people who have diabetes have type 2 diabetes. So 80 to 90% of the people throughout the world who have diabetes have type 2 diabetes. Now, what is hyperglycemia? Hyperglycemia is when people's blood sugars or blood glucoses are too high, hence the word hyper. Glycemia is glucose in the blood. So hyperglycemia. So high blood sugar that's what your doctor is going to say to you. So you have hyperglycemia. So that's the term you need to be listening for when you talk to your doctor. Now, how do you know you got that? Well, you're going to walk to your doctor's office and you say, you know, doc, I've been going to the restroom urinating really frequently during the night. I'm super thirsty. For some reason, I just can't get enough to eat. I'm super hungry. All of a sudden, doc, for no reason, I'm just really tired all the time. I'm weak and I'm losing weight, and I'm not trying to lose weight. You know, doc, I've had to change my glasses a couple times this year. My vision is getting worse. I got blurred vision. Or doc, I got some numbness and tingling in my hands or in my feet, especially at night, and I don't know what that's all about. Or you tell the doc, you go see your OBGYN, and you're always going there to get, you know, your vaginal infections, you know, your monostat gel or your other types of over-the-counter gels that you can get for vaginal infections. You have candida infections, very common in women who have type 2 diabetes. So when I used to have my own retail pharmacy, and I would tell the clerks at the cashier that if a woman comes in and you see her frequently and she's always buying those vaginal preparations over the counter, she needs to come talk to me, because you should not be having multiple candida infections. So if you are, that's the first sign that maybe your blood sugar in your urine and in your vaginal tract is increased, which is causing that yeast, because that's what candida is, to grow. All right, now, sometimes you'll get a cut and that cut won't heal, or it takes longer to heal. All of these symptoms and signs you see up there are signs of diabetes. Now, what makes your blood sugar go up? What makes it rise? Okay, eating too much, gaining weight, and infection. Physical or emotional stress. There are some people that when they are stressed, their blood sugars go up, and that's because they're secreting extra stress hormones like epinephrine and norepinephrine and cortisol, etc. There's certain types of medicines that can make your blood sugar go up. There are certain, like for instance, cancer medicines. There are certain HIV medicines that make your blood sugar go up. And so if you're on those medicines, that could cause you to go from not having diabetes to having diabetes once you start those medicines. Yeah. Or you've got diabetes, you know your blood sugars are high, and you're not taking enough of your diabetes medicines. That will make your blood sugar stay high. All right, so what we do at Healing Our Village is make sure that number one, you're on the right combination of medicines, and number two, you're taking the medicines as prescribed. And number three, we're making sure, because we're monitoring your blood sugars, we're making sure that whatever you're taking to decrease your blood sugar is working. Because they might not be working, because you might not be on the perfect drug for you. The management of diabetes is not one size fits all. Okay, everybody's body's different. Everybody's physiology is different. We need to make sure you're on the perfect combination for you. And that is so important. People say, well, I have a doctor. I don't need your services, Dr. Coleman. No, you do need my services. Trust me. Unless all your numbers are perfect. If all your numbers are good, then no, you don't. You're right. You don't need my services. But if you're not at your target numbers, yes, you do. Because the number one reason you're not there is not because you're eating too much or you're not getting enough exercise. The number one reason that you're not there is because you're not on the right medicines. Let me say that again out loud. Can I please? I've been doing this for 40 years and I'm tired. I'm tired. The reason you're not at the numbers your doctor wants you to be at is because you're not taking enough of your medicines or the right combination of medicines. And you have to do that in order to get your numbers where they need to be. In the story, full stop. There's no more discussion about this, folks. Okay, so we talked about high blood sugar. Now let's talk about low blood sugar. There are some things that cause your blood sugar to go too low. We don't want your blood sugar to go too low because I just told you that you needed a certain level of glucose in your cells, including your brain cells, to be able to do what you need to do every day, to be able to think and function. So if your blood sugar gets too low because you're not eating enough food, or you're on too much medicine, or you're not getting too much exercise, or you're stressed, those can all cause low blood sugars, and you're going to get these symptoms potentially: sweating, weakness, hunger, feeling nervous or anxious, trembling of your hands, your heartbeat can go up, and you start having palpitations, or really super irritable. All of these are the signs of a low blood sugar. Now, we don't want your blood sugar to get low, so you need to look for those signs, but here are some that people don't think about. Inability to think clearly, headache, drowsiness, maybe numbness in your lips. And then if it goes untreated for prolonged periods of time, you get confusion, coma, and convulsions. So we want you to be sure to know your signs of low blood sugar. And your sign of low blood sugar might not be the same as Mary's or Henry's signs of low blood sugar. Right? Everybody's symptoms and signs are not necessarily the same. Okay, so now, my blood sugar's low, I got these symptoms, what do I do? All right, well, the first thing I want you to do is check your blood sugar with your blood glucose monitor, because I want to make sure you really are low. Because sometimes if your blood sugar, say 250, and you drop real fast to 180 milligrams per deciliter, just that fast drop can give you some of those symptoms. But your blood sugar is not low. Low blood sugar is less than 70 milligrams per deciliter. So I need you to know what number you're treating. You gotta know your numbers. So everybody that has diabetes needs to have a blood glucose monitor. So therefore you can use it if you start feeling a certain way. If you start feeling maybe my sugar's too high or maybe my sugar's too low, you need to check it. See what your number is. Okay, now, once I know that I am low, I got the symptoms, then I'm going to eat 15 grams of a carbohydrate. I'm going to wait 15 minutes, and then I'm going to check my sugar again. And if it's still low, you're going to take another 15 grams of carbohydrate. And then you're going to follow that up with some kind of snack, like a sandwich or something that has some meat, something that has some protein in it. Carbohydrate, bread, and some meat. That's the quickest way to be able to get your blood sugar to stay up once you finally got it up with some of your fast sugar sources. So this is called the rule of 15 because you're eating 15 grams of carbohydrate and you're waiting 15 minutes before you check again. Now, you heard me say fast sugar sources. All right, so that are your glucose tablets, which you can buy in a pharmacy, your glucose gel, which you can buy in a pharmacy, or a tablespoon of honey, or 1/2 cup of real orange juice, or 1/3 cup of real grape juice, or some milk, real milk, one cup of milk, 2 tablespoons of raisins. Raisins are great. Or 3 to 8 pieces of Lifesavers. You should have these fast sugar sources available at your job, at home, in your car, wherever, in your purse. Wherever you are, you need to have those things available. Because if your blood sugar drops, you need to treat it immediately. Now, if you don't have any of those things I just mentioned, we can get away with table sugar or candy or syrup or jelly or drinking a regular soda that has sugar in it or jelly beans. But these foods are not the ones that I recommend, right? That first list was the list I want you to really use because we know that they work and that they work fast. So that's what's important. Okay, now, there are some people out there that have low blood sugar reactions all the time. And what they need to do if they have these reactions all the time is you probably need to have a glucagon emergency kit at your house. So glucagon and insulin are contrary to each other. If your insulin is up, your glucagon is down. If your glucagon is up, your insulin is down. So glucagon injections is what you use if in fact you're not in a position to eat something, right? If your family member finds you on the floor, they're not trying to force orange juice down your throat. They need to have a glucagon injection kit, right? Because it increases your blood sugar. That's what glucagon does. It increases your blood sugar, all right? That is why at night, the liver puts out, and people with diabetes puts out more glucagon, which increases your blood sugar during the night. So when you get up in the morning, your blood sugar is high. So that is why there are medications that actually work at the level of the liver to decrease the glucagon production. So when you get up in the morning, your sugar's not high. And we'll talk about that when we talk about medications, all right? But glucagon is very important because it is contrary to your insulin. And so you need to have this injection kit and you need to make sure it's in date, all right? So that usually should only be used by people who have low blood sugar reactions a lot. All right, now, you need to know what is the difference between low and high blood sugar. You need to know that. And in order for you to know personally, not wait for your doctor's appointment, but for you to know every day where you are, is you have to monitor your blood sugar. So I'm going to stop here because we're going to get into this whole self-monitoring section. And I am going to have a quick break, get up, get some water, walk around in the living room 3 or 4 times, and then come on back because we're going to talk about monitoring blood sugar.
Epigallocatechin gallate, superoxide dismutase, glutathione peroxidase. Now, those are names you probably aren't familiar with, but you should be. Those are antioxidants known to fight free radicals. In fact, did you know that some viruses are actually alcohol resistant? One major study showed that by adding the epigallocatechins from green tea, it killed the virus on contact. Please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Mark Johnson. I'm here to share with you an exciting new, technologically advanced, patent-pending green tea hand sanitizing wash from Handout Protection. Now, this is not your typical hand gel designed to just smear all over your hand. This is a hand washing sanitizer to cover your entire hand, both the front and back of your hand, in between your fingers and your wrist. This is a non-sticky sanitizing hand wash designed for convenience to take with you in your purse, pocket, or carry in your lunchbox. As Dr. Josh Ridge has stated, what goes on your body goes into your body. That is why we choose only the highest FDA-compliant ingredients, such as 75% isopropyl alcohol, an organic green tea brewed with alkaline water. The only way to protect yourself and your family is to always carry a disposable package of Handout with you. This may be the only handout you ever need.
Hey, welcome back. This is Dr. Lenore Coleman, and what we're talking about right now is Sugar Busters, Segment 1, our program with Healing Our Village for those who have just tuned in. And we're going to talk about knowing your numbers, monitoring your blood sugar. You can't wait till when you go to your doctor to know what your blood sugar is. You need to know what your blood sugar is every day, or at least every other day. All right, so monitoring is very important in order to be able to figure out if your blood sugars are high or if your blood sugars are low. Now, we know that high blood sugar, hyperglycemia, that takes a minute. It develops slowly over time, whereas hypoglycemia, low blood sugars, it can happen super fast. So when in doubt and you're feeling these symptoms, just assume that it's low. Test it, see if it's low. But hypoglycemia is more dangerous than hyperglycemia. Okay, now, monitoring your blood glucose at home, self-monitoring. There are a number of blood tests that are out there for you to use, a number of urine tests out there for you to use. Blood is the best method to be able to know your glucose value. You want to know how much your sugar is in your blood. Urine testing is not as accurate. It doesn't really give you a complete picture of what's going on in your bloodstream, but they still do urine testing for ketones during what they call sick day management. So if you've got the flu, you're not feeling good. Right now, a lot of people have caught the flu. They got RSV. They got COVID. That's going on right now. In the month of January and February, that's when we see all of our upper respiratory infections. And so this is when, if you have diabetes, you're probably not eating as much, right? Which is not good. You still need to take your medicines. That's very important, which means you got to eat something so you don't go low. And so you will be measuring your urine for ketones, because if in fact your body starts to break down your muscle, it will then break it down into what we call ketone bodies, and those ketone bodies, and breaking down your fat, so fat and muscle, it will make ketone bodies and it goes into your urine. So if you start spilling ketones in your urine, that can be a problem. And you all know about this because you've heard about the keto diet. And that whole diet is based upon you breaking down that fat, making these ketones. And you guys measure those ketones in your urine to see if your diet is working. So that's why we probably know more about ketones than we have ever known as a country, because of all these keto diet that are out there. Now, monitoring your blood sugar. We're trying to keep your blood sugar steady. We don't want peaks. We don't want dips. We want it to eat across. So you can see in this little picture that I have here that if you forget to take your pill, the white line or your blood sugar goes up. And it will continue to go up, especially if you then eat cake at the office party, right? So then you go out and you remember to take your medicine, or you go out for a walk, And then your blood sugar comes back down. So you see that bar going across. That was what we call the green zone. We want to actually not have your blood sugar go above the bar or below the green bar. We want you in the middle of the green bar. That's what we're shooting for. Okay, now, how do you monitor your blood sugar? Okay, so you see there a picture of the 4-care meter. I have one right here. This is the meter that we actually sell here at Healing Our Village. I use this meter because it not only measures your blood sugar, but it measures your ketones. And it also sends your numbers up to the cloud so my pharmacist or educators can actually see your numbers. So these are called a Bluetooth meter. Very, very accurate meter. It's very small. You can see it looks like that, right? Very small. The strip goes right into the top of the meter. Meter turns on, stick your finger, and then you're able to get your blood sugar. So some of you have other meters out there. When you're looking for a meter, you need to be sure that you're using one that is easy to use, that the strips don't cost too much, that they have a memory feature, so you know the memory of your blood glucoses that you test go into the memory of the meter, so that I then, as a health educator, can download your results and I can see what your numbers have been, okay, over the course of 3 months. So the main methods for measuring blood glucose is either a meter that reads strips, or to be able to visually read the strip, or because it turns a certain color. It requires a drop of blood, and that meter interprets the sugar that's in that blood drop into a numerical number. It's pretty amazing, actually. So everyone out there who has diabetes and prediabetes needs to have a blood glucose monitor at home. Now, when should you test? You need to test if you're a type 1. They're usually testing 3 to 4 times a day. Before and after meals and at bedtime. If you have type 2 diabetes, generally you're checking 2 times a day, at least until you know what your numbers are looking like over a 2-week period of time, for instance. And you should also test frequently every 2 to 3 hours when you're sick, because you want to know what your numbers are. You don't want your numbers to start going up because you have an infection. So you need to test during sick days. We said that earlier. So this is when you test. In order to test, you're going to need a lancing device. They look like the one in the picture, or they can be small like this. And in there's needles that you buy separately that go into these lancing devices right here, and then you put the cap back on. And the interesting thing is that these caps, you can change the depth of how far it goes into your finger, the needle depth, by adjusting the cap. Okay, so that's really good. Usually most people I find are on 2 to be able to get a decent enough puncture. All right? Okay. You need your test strips. They usually come in a vial like this. The top is very, very tight. So when you open it up, that lets air into the vial. So be sure you always close it back, and be sure you're looking for the expiration date on this vial, because you don't want to use outdated strips. And then you have the meter. Most of the meters are about this size. You put the strip in the meter right here. You stick your finger, and then you bring the strip to the drop of blood. That's how you do the blood glucose testing. All right. Most of the strips have a little line at the top. So you get the strip, you put it into the meter. When you do that, the meter turns on. You'll usually hear a beep. You stick your finger, you get a little drop of blood, and then you bring the strip to the drop of blood. It sucks it up into the strip, and then in 3 to 5 seconds, you have your blood glucose reading. In my meters that are Bluetooth, that number goes, as soon as you eject the strip, that number goes up to the cloud, and I can see it. You can also see it on an app that is on your telephone. And you can share that app with your doctors, with your family. So that is why I really like the newer meters that have that Bluetooth technology. So you gather everything together. You need to wash your hands with warm water. You don't necessarily have to use alcohol to clean off your finger. You usually prick it on the sides of your finger. Don't prick in the middle because that's the most sensitive part of your finger. So prick it on the sides. And then you start from the bottom of the finger, and you push up and hold it. And then the blood will come up, and then you test the meter. All right? Try not to touch the strip to your skin. So if you can just try to get that strip to the blood droplet that's on your finger, then that is better. And then after that, you remove the lancet and dispose of it. Now, why are we doing all of this? We're doing all of this because you need to know your numbers. And what is your number supposed to be? Well, your number's supposed to be in the morning when you first get up, before you've had anything, including your coffee, it should be 90 to 130 milligrams per deciliter. So when you look at the number that's on the meter, that's the number you're looking for, between 90 and 130. And if you've eaten something within the last 2 hours, then your blood sugar should be less than 180. I tell people to shoot for 160 milligrams per deciliter within 2 hours of you having a meal. All right, so that's the numbers. If your numbers aren't there, then your blood sugars are too high, and that will reflect in your hemoglobin A1C, which we're going to talk about shortly. Now, I really like meters that have apps. I really like meters that you can download them into your computer because it can create graphs and reports that you can send to your doctor. I think everybody that has diabetes or prediabetes should be monitoring their blood sugar because it helps you with your eating and your exercise. So you'll start to realize those foods that you need to avoid because they really, really spike your blood sugar. And then you'll see those foods you can eat that don't really have that much of an effect on your blood sugar. All right, so it's really good for changing your eating behaviors. Very good for that. When we work with you and trying to help you to get your blood sugars under control, my Healing Our Village educators and pharmacists, we're looking for a pattern. We're looking to find out what times of the day you're high and what times of the day are you low, and what you're eating and what you're doing that keeps you leveled out. That's what we're trying to do. And then we will adjust your medicines, potentially, and your eating habits to be able to smooth out your blood sugar so you're not having these peaks and valleys, all right? So, and if you don't have to write things in a logbook anymore, if you're using a meter that has memory, so that's really good. This is just an example of one of the meters that are out there and what their app looks like in terms of highs and lows. We know that there are things that affect your blood sugar numbers, all right? So food and beverages that have sugar in it, all right? So everybody should be drinking and eating as much as you can sugar-free. Okay, medicines for diabetes or other medicines can actually affect your blood glucose levels. Exercise, stress. When you eat can also affect your blood glucose level, right? Time of the day the test is performed, and again, using outdated strips. You don't want to do that, or using a meter where you have to code the strips to the meter. Now, most of those meters are no longer available on the market, but there's still a few out there, especially for my folks who are in the Caribbean. Now, the most important test that you need to know, and you need to know it 4 times a year, is your hemoglobin A1C. We know that test reflects your average blood sugars over a 3 to 4 month period of time. So I can see how your blood sugars are doing by looking at your pattern, but I can also see how your blood sugars are doing, all your highs and all your lows, by getting an A1C test. All right, and we want that A1C test to be less than 7%. All right, that is the American Diabetes Association goal for A1C. The American Association of Clinical Endocrinologists, all right, your endocrinologists, they want your A1C to be 6.5%. So they want even lower than 7%. So these are your numbers. So when I ask you what your A1C is, Most people don't have any clue. I can't help you if you don't know your A1C. Very important. All right, so you gotta ask your doctor, what is my A1C? Because we know that when you get greater than 8%, your risk of eye disease, kidney disease, and nerve disease goes up. It increases your risk. So you need to be as low as you can, as close to normal as you can. Normal generally is between 4 and 5.8%. Less than 6% is considered to be a normal A1C. And so the closer we can get you to normal, that means there's not that many peaks and valleys. And that's good. That means we're doing everything right. Now, let's talk a little bit about this A1C test. So basically, the A1C test measures your average amount of glucose that attaches to your hemoglobin molecule over 2 to 3 months, period. So you've heard of hemoglobin. It carries your oxygen throughout your body. Okay, well, there's a component of that hemoglobin molecule that is the A1C component, and it just so happens that glucose in your blood attaches to that part of the hemoglobin molecule. Okay? Now, what's really sad is that 60% of the people with diabetes don't get an A1C. They're not doing, and it's getting better, but it's nowhere close to where it needs to be. So you've got to make sure you're getting that test. All right. So in this little graphic, you can see that the more glucose you have in your blood, the little white dots, the more of those glucoses attached to the hemoglobin molecule. So that is why when I do that test every 3 to 4 months, because that's how long a hemoglobin, a blood cell lasts, a red blood cell, which is where the hemoglobin is, only lasts for about 120 days. So I can be able to look at this test and give me a good idea of what your blood sugars have been over that 3 to 4 month period of time. And if you're not doing what you're supposed to do, that A1C level is going to be high. Now, you can't cheat your A1C. So you could cheat your blood sugars. I remember the patients used to come and see me, and they were really good that week before, and they made sure that their blood glucose stayed down, and I would come in and measure, and they'd be fine before we had the A1C. But you can't cheat the A1C. So I can look at that number, and I'm going to know if you're following your medicines, if you're following your diet, if you're getting your exercise. I'll be able to tell if you're doing good or you're doing bad. All right? And what I love about this test is that we can actually match it. We can match it up to your average blood sugar. All right? So you can see that, remember I said that you're usually less than 6. So if you look at the little green chart part of this chart, you'll see the number 6. That's your hemoglobin A1C value. That equates to an average blood sugar of 115. Now, I just told you when you get up in the morning, your blood sugars are supposed to be between 90 and 130. 90 and 130. So 115 is right there in the middle of that. And so if I'm hitting 115 every day, then the chances of my hemoglobin A1B being in the 6s is very high. All right? But some of you are out there with A1Cs of 9%, 10%, 11%. Look how high your average blood glucose is when you're in those 9, 10, 11 range. You're averaging between 215 and 280 something. That's not good. That's not good. That's why people that are higher than 8% have the eye damage, the kidney damage, the heart damage, the nerve damage, because your sugars are too high, and they're affecting your small blood vessels and your nervous system. All right, so A1C can also predict for me your short-term and long-term complications. And the better your A1C is, the less a chance that you're going to have to get these complications. So it's really important. Okay, so we have come to the end of Sugar Busters, what you need to know. If this is up on my YouTube channel at Healing Our Village Official, If it's too fast, then you go ahead and you watch it again. Can you please send it to your family and your friends and your church members that have diabetes so we can try to do better in 2023? All right, so we do this every Saturday. There is a Sugar Busters that is on. Sometimes I'm live, sometimes I pre-record it. All right, for those of you who are my live, like right now I'm live. I'm in a studio in Jonesboro, Georgia. When I'm live, I'm on Facebook. It's also on my website at hovhealth.com. If I'm on Facebook, you can send a question. I got somebody here in studio with me who can look at your question and tell me what you want to know. So please take this opportunity. How many times? Your doctor is not on Saturday from 12 to 1, ready to answer your questions. So come on, folks. I'm here trying to heal the village, and I need you all to participate. Even if I'm pre-recorded, type in your questions into the chat, and I'll be able to go back and look at what your questions were. Very important on my YouTube channel and on my Facebook channel. So I need you to go to my website and subscribe, like my page, share my page, so that if you subscribe, I can now put you on our educational For Your Health mailing list, where we're sending out recipes, we're sending out newsletters, we're sending out our little Diabetes the Truth About clips. We're doing all of this for free to help you all get your diabetes under better control. So work with me here. I need your support. We have something called Step Up 90. That's our diabetes prevention program. You get our app for free if you join Village Club. So we need you to go to villageclub-global.com and join Village Club and become part of our village. Now, right now, my Village Club is about $72 for the year. It works out to be about $6 a month. But February 1st, I'm increasing it to $150. So if you're interested at all in getting into our diabetes prevention program, becoming a member of Village Club, that you need to do it in the month of January, right? And you just again go to villageclub-global.com. Villageclub-global.com. You can sign up today. We're ready for you. If you go to Healing Our Village's website, we have our meters, we have our blood pressure, we have everything there for you to monitor your numbers. You got to know your numbers in 2023. You need to know if they're high, they're low, and if they're not where you want them to be or where your doctor wants them to be, then let us help you. Let us help you get to where you need to be with your numbers. Here in Jonesboro, Georgia, we have something called Wellness Wednesdays. It is every Wednesday at 11 o'clock. To 3 o'clock. I have people in my building here to take blood sugars, to take blood pressures, to sign you up for Village Club, to do personalized care for you here in my building. 177 North Main Street in Jonesboro, Georgia. So come and visit us. Come on down. Bring somebody with you that we can be able to help you all get your numbers where they need to be. Here is my information. I want to again thank you for watching. We're located here in Jonesboro, Georgia, 177 North Main Street. Our website is hovhealth.com. And again, we want you to join Village Club. That price will be going up February 1st. And we have a nonprofit that goes out and does health fairs, COVID testing, COVID screening, COVID boosters and vaccinations. And we need you to donate. So if you go to tlc-global.org to our donation page, we welcome any level of support that you can give us so I can continue to go out to underserved communities. We go to homeless communities. We go to homeless shelters. All of that to try to improve the health of our community out there. But I have to hire staff to do this. And so we need your help monetarily to continue to heal the village. Thank you again for watching Sugar Busters. Again, I'm Dr. Lenore Coleman, president and founder of Healing Our Village. That's hovhealth.com, and we'll see you next week. Thank you so much.
Hello, I'm Dr. Lenore Coleman, president and founder of Healing Our Village.
Did you know 88 million people in the United States have prediabetes, and that number keeps growing. Did you know that more than 2 in 3 adults in the United States are either overweight or obese? Healing Our Village is excited to introduce Step Up 90, weight loss and diabetes prevention program all in one. Finally, there is a guided mobile app that will help you lose 5 to 7% of your body weight and help you get your 150 minutes of exercise in every week. All of this is available on your cell phone, notepad, or computer. To install Step Up 90, all you have to do is go to www.stepup90 from your phone or computer and hit the install button. Once the icon is added to your home screen, you can create a unique login and password or use your Facebook or Google login credentials. Do you have prediabetes? Does diabetes run in your family? Well, once you log in to Step Up 90, you can take the diabetes risk test. If you score more than 5, you may be at risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Step Up 90 features the CDC-approved Prevent T2 program, along with their food log, fitness log, and action plan. All materials can be printed or downloaded for easy use. Our monthly calendar provides our virtual class schedule with a reminder 30 minutes before the class to help you remember. Are you looking for easy to understand lifestyle videos, healthy recipes, exercise classes, nutritional support groups, or a cooking demonstration? All of this is available with our premium package. The most unique feature of Step Up 90 is your ability to chat with your lifestyle coach, a clinical pharmacist, or a registered dietitian. These experts will have weekly office hours. They are there to help you achieve your lifestyle goals and manage your medications. Sign up today for Step Up 90. We have our basic package starting at $5.99, featuring our weekly Zoom classes, and our premium package at $19.99.
Step Up 90, it is time for you to step up.